teach your child about disabilities, found yourself lost for words and not quite sure how to ask or answer their questions, or even worse, found yourself in an embarrassing situation because of their loud questions? Well, today is your lucky day. You have an expert in your midst with 17 years of experience and research. Now, I'm sure you are asking, where are my credentials? Well, they come from having mitochondrial myopathy, an incurable genetic disorder that my siblings and I were born with. What this does is not only puts me in the line of questioning, but also in the community with people who have more visible disabilities. I'm Bella Starfisher, and I'm here to help you. Okay, to be honest, I had no clue how to start this speech other than with a really weird commercial joke. What's not the joke is that kids are around people with disabilities every single day and yet are not taught how to process their curiosity. When a child's questions go unanswered, they have to make assumptions in order to fill in the blanks. This leads to misconceptions, fear, and anger all the way around. You know the saying, curiosity killed the cat? Well, actually, when it comes to disabilities, assumption killed the cat. According to 0 to 3, a website focused on helping parents through the toddler years, when a child is asking a question, they're taking an active role in their own education. What this means is that they're taking not only your verbal answer, but your nonverbal one as well. So when they see a person with a disability across the room, they're not just taking the answer you're intentionally telling them, they're taking how tense or relaxed you are when you address the question. Right now, we are in an endless cycle of questions and negative responses because of the fear of being rude. So, I'm going to put you at ease. There are really only 3 ways you can be directly rude. 1, start the conversation off with, not to be rude, but what's wrong with you? That's just not really a good way to start off any conversation. And 2, giving a cure that your friend's second cousin twice removed did, and it worked great. No matter how well you intended, not all medical issues have cures, and for the purpose of conversation, that's okay. And 3, pulling your child away with a quick word of apology. This makes people with disabilities feel like they're dirty or broken, that your child can't even ask them a question. With the amount of disabilities out there, most of us love to talk about it in order to spread a little awareness. When I got to this point in my speech, my sister was reading over my shoulder and asked, well then how can someone answer a question or ask a question about disabilities? That's a perfect question. There are really just a few general things you should know in order to teach your little one about disabilities. A, remember that people with disabilities are people first. You can just start by doing this by changing the way you talk. Instead of saying the kid or the special needs kid, say the kid with special needs. When you do this, you're showing your children that when they're talking to a person in a wheelchair, they're talking to the person in the chair, not the chair that's holding the person. Also, try to refrain from using terms like retarded in reference to someone you or your child thinks is particularly idiotic. Retarded means to have a mental disability, and if someone has a mental disability, that doesn't mean that they're stupid. When you change the way you talk, you humanize people in a world that when you have a disability, it makes it seem as if you're not seen as much more than a story device. B, before the question arises, teach your child how to ask personal questions. Start with something like, may I ask you a personal question? When you do this, you're giving the person an option to say, yes, you may, go ahead, or I prefer not to answer, sorry. What this does is allow the person answering to have time in order to put themselves in the mindset necessary to answer your question, or have the ability to say no if they prefer not to. Also, when you do this, you and your child are showing a great amount of respect for privacy, which I think is pretty cool and hardly ever seen in our society. C, encourage your child to ask questions on their own. When I was 10, I had to use a scooter for long distances and long days. After a particularly rough week medically, my mom made me use my scooter at church. I was so embarrassed. But then some kids around my age came up and asked me why I was using my scooter, and I told them started to play like there was no difference between us. Your child has the ability to be far kinder than you ever realize. So just be patient and give them a chance. Now, D, don't refer to yourself or other people who are considered traditionally healthy as normal. Because the way we use normal right now, it's like something everyone should aspire to be. So when you say someone is not normal, it's like they broke some code of conduct. Try using a word like different, which means not the same as me, which is good and okay. And E, lead by example. Don't be afraid to ask your own questions. I know that seeing a person with a disability can be disconcerting because the older you get, the more you realize how terrifying a disability can be. You may not be able to give a cure for the medical problem, but you have the ability to help the social one. If I've been talking all this time and you have a disability as well, I want to encourage you. Answer as many questions as possible. Be your own advocate because you are your greatest advocate. Teach parents how to teach their children questions. And also realize the sooner we change these differences and make it normal, the closer we are to solutions. So now you know how to respond to your child's curiosity with the simple steps A, B, C, D, and E. A, remember that people with disabilities are people first. B, before the question arises, make sure you teach your child how to ask personal questions. C, encourage your children to ask questions on their own. And D, don't refer to yourself as a level of normal. And finally, E, lead by example. Show your kids that it's okay to ask questions and be curious. You can start with my family if you want to. You can ask us questions at any point of time. Don't be afraid to come out. Or don't be afraid to write it on the ballot, because I might not be able to get back to you directly, but hopefully my message will get out. So now you know how to respond to your child's innumerable and sometimes embarrassing questions. You can make a world of difference by changing your child and telling them how to ask questions. In such simple ways, you can make a huge difference, so don't wait to start. This was Bella Starfisher, and I'm here to help you. Thank you.